Meghan Markle was on the brink. Prince Harry agreed to quit the royal family and fast-tracked plans as he feared his unsettled wife would have a meltdown if she remained in the UK. Prince Harry fast-tracked plans for both himself and Meghan Markle to quit as senior members of the royal family as he was worried she would have a meltdown if she remained in the UK, it has been claimed. The Duke of Sussex is said to have been growing increasingly concerned about his wife's well-being, with life at Buckingham Palace leaving her on the brink, according to The Sun on Sunday. As a result, a statement announcing the Duke and Duchess of Sussex would be stepping down as senior members was hastily rushed out and plans for them to spend more time in North America accelerated. According to courtiers, Meghan felt more comfortable returning to Canada while Harry remained in the UK to deal with the fallout of their decision, which will come to a head during a summit at Sandringham on Monday. He will come face-to-face with his father Prince Charles, his brother Prince William and his grandmother the Queen, who is said to be increasingly concerned for Prince Harry's own mental well-being. Harry and Meghan, both of whom are heavily invested in mental health charities and initiatives, first made it clear in May that they would like to break away from what they see as the stifling constraints of life inside the firm. A source said that Meghan and Harry found the slow pace of palace life painful and that, in another echo of Brexit, Meghan wanted to take back control of her work and charitable endeavours. A separate source told The Sun on Sunday, the statement was rushed out and part of the reason for that is that Harry knew he needed to take swift action. Meghan has not settled in the UK and he knows that and wants her to be happy. According to the source, the couple's 6-week break in Canada helped Meghan to determine that her family would be better off splitting their time across the Atlantic. The source added that Harry decided to move quickly, fearing that staying in the UK for too long would lead to his wife having a meltdown. Behind closed doors, courtiers are desperately searching for a face-saving measure that will keep the family together and the dignity of the monarchy intact. It comes as the Duke of Cambridge has said he is unable to even put an arm round his younger brother nowadays, after a rift saw them grow apart over the past year. Harry and Meghan's intention to quit as senior royals has widened the gulf between the two siblings, with William understood to be incandescent over his brother's blindsiding of the family. But as the brothers gear up to come face-to-face at the Queen's high-stakes crisis summit at Sandringham on Monday, the second in line to the throne confided in a friend his raw agony over the cracked sibling bond. He said, "I've put my arm around my brother all our lives and I can't do that anymore. We're separate entities," according to the Sunday Times. William also spoke of his frustration that Harry is no longer part of the team by deciding to become financially independent in a pared-back royal role. Yet he hopes that there will come a time when the Duke and Duchess of Sussex will be singing from the same page once again. The Queen, who was pictured ashen-faced behind the wheel of her Land Rover on Saturday, is also said to be concerned for the mental fragility of her grandson Harry, according to a royal source speaking to the Mail on Sunday. After laying down a 72-hour ultimatum to aides on Friday to hammer out a solution to the Sussexes' future roles, Her Majesty summoned Princes Charles, William and Harry to her Norfolk estate to put an end to the turmoil ravaging the monarchy, while Meghan is expected to join the discussions via a conference call from Canada. Ahead of this Crunch Sandringham summit, ITV presenter and Sussex confidant Tom Bradby said the couple could give a no-holds-barred interview that could further damage the royal family. Courtiers fear Meghan could brand the household racist. Royal aides were poised to spell out the punitive taxes that could be inflicted on Harry and Meghan if they press ahead with their plans to quit. A video from July emerged where Harry seemed to tell head of Disney Meghan is interested in doing voiceovers. She has since been given work with the company. Prince Philip was said to be livid with the current crisis ravaging the family. A source rubbished speculation the Sussexes planned to settle down on Vancouver Island where they spent Christmas and instead touted Toronto or LA as potential cities. It emerged Meghan sneaked back to Vancouver Island on a £134 budget flight. It was revealed Meghan and Kate Middleton haven't spoken in over 6 months after the sisters-in-law severed all communication on a family WhatsApp group. Reuters reported that negotiations between Buckingham Palace, Clarence House, Kensington Palace and the Sussex household has been progressing well. Her Majesty was pictured stony-faced as she emerged from her Norfolk estate behind the wheel of her Land Rover for the second day running. Courtiers have quickly crushed together a document outlining several blueprints for Harry and Meghan's new position within the royal ranks. Palace staff will also spell out the punitive taxes which could be inflicted on the couple, should they press ahead with their plans to resign from frontline duties. However, a royal insider confirmed to The Sun on Sunday that the Sandringham summit will extend to the next steps for the entire monarchy, which is staring down the barrel of its worst crisis since 1992's Annus Horribilis, when both Charles and Diana, and Andrew and Sarah Ferguson both divorced. Commentators have drawn parallels between the New Way Ahead group, when the senior royals bunkered down 28 years ago to chart a path out of the chaos, and the Queen's urgency to stamp out the Sussex situation immediately. Inside high-stakes negotiations at Sandringham, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will be offered a compromised Commonwealth role as courtiers desperately search for a face-saving solution to Megxit, and one aide warns, "I've never seen the monarchy in such a bad state." By Kate Mansi for the Mail on Sunday. Sandringham House, near the coast in rural Norfolk, is normally a private sanctuary for the Queen and Prince Philip, a place for family gatherings where they can escape the endless formalities of London and Windsor. Since Wednesday, however, this royal retreat has found itself at the heart of the crisis enveloping the Duke and Duchess of Sussex following their shock decision to step back from their official duties and spend more time in North America. Palace sources say the Queen has demanded a solution be found at pace, a sign of real concern in an institution that prefers to operate at glacial speed. But then, as a well-placed source put it, "I have never seen the monarchy in such a bad state." Behind closed doors, courtiers are desperately searching for a face-saving measure that will keep the family together and the dignity of the monarchy intact. And not only that, for Her Majesty is said to be increasingly concerned for Prince Harry's mental well-being. After days of meetings, the Mail on Sunday understands that senior courtiers are preparing to offer the Sussexes a compromise deal potentially involving a Commonwealth role. This would allow them to both maintain their HRH status and live in Canada. Anxious to avoid exacerbating an already tense situation, the royal family is keen to tread carefully. A source said, "There is no suggestion that they will be punished or stripped of their royal titles or HRH status. Everyone wants to find a solution to this as quickly as possible." All the same, the palace let it be known that the 93-year-old Queen was hurt and disappointed by Prince Harry and Meghan's decision to make their announcement without consulting senior royals. Prince Harry had been due to fly back to Canada with wife Meghan on Thursday to be united with their 8-month-old son Archie, but decided to stay on in Britain while a deal is thrashed out. The Queen has a warm relationship with her grandson, so it might seem a surprise that the Megxit crisis, as it has been termed, should have been allowed to develop in this way. In truth, however, tensions have been simmering for months. It was back in May that Meghan and Harry first made it clear they would like to break away from what they see as the stifling constraints of life inside the firm. A source said that Meghan and Harry found the slow pace of palace life painful and that, in another echo of Brexit, Meghan wanted to take back control of her work and charitable endeavours. To the couple's dismay, senior royals were reluctant to discuss their plans with them, so the pair decided to take time out with a 6-week sabbatical to Canada in November and December. This decision, too, came as a surprise. The Queen only found out about the break in November when she telephoned Harry to ask if he would be spending Christmas with the family at Sandringham. The answer was no. Harry asked for a meeting with the Queen at Sandringham when he returned to Britain after Christmas, but it seems aides blocked this until he had ironed out the details of his future plans with his father, Prince Charles. He in turn asked his son to think about it some more and submit a more thorough proposal. Harry tried again a few days later, and again he was told more time was required to consider the implications, particularly over how the funding would work. It was made clear he should not make his proposals public until further discussions had taken place, so there was almost no warning at all when the storm broke over Sandringham. The Queen was still hosting the last of the informal gatherings of the festive season, with the decorations still on display. They traditionally remain up until February 6, to mark the anniversary of the death of the Queen's father, George VI. Just a few days before, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge had joined her for the Sunday morning service at St. Mary Magdalene Church on the estate. Kate's parents Carol and Michael Middleton were there too, having recently returned from a winter break in St. Bart's in the Caribbean. The sermon was given by Right Reverend Vivian Fall, the Bishop of Bristol, who is believed to have later joined the family for Sunday lunch back in Sandringham's ornate, green-painted dining room. But late on Wednesday afternoon the atmosphere of celebration was shattered. A private secretary at Sandringham broke the news to the Queen just 10 minutes before the Sussexes' statement was made public. Her Majesty is thought to have been told of the announcement in a wood-panelled sitting room known as the Salon, a room open to visitors who tour Sandringham when it opens to the public every summer. Despite the traditional setting, the Queen is understood to have read the announcement on an iPad before watching coverage on TV as broadcasters revealed the shock announcement to the country. Her public response, that there was much more to discuss, was delivered swiftly, as were comments from those inside the palace that senior royals had been left hurt and deeply disappointed. It hardly helped that the following day, Thursday, was the Duchess of Cambridge's 38th birthday. Not only were courtiers alarmed by the abrupt way in which Harry and Meghan dropped their bombshell, but sources say there is also some bitterness that they were misled for weeks beforehand. When the palace first became aware that Harry and Meghan were launching a new website, Sussex Royal, set up by the team behind Meghan's now-defunct lifestyle blog The Tig, they had been reassured that its purpose was to support their charitable foundation. So when it emerged that it was in fact to be the launch pad for their new independent career, many in the palace felt that the couple had been disingenuous, or as one source rather more cautiously put it, their behavior had been suboptimal. The timing, meanwhile, was terrible. Announcing such news ahead of Brexit and with the monarchy still reeling from the Prince Andrew debacle, not to mention the Duke of Edinburgh's recent hospital stay, was seen as inconsiderate. The response has been complicated by senior royals being dispersed across the country. Charles is at Birkhall, his Scottish retreat in Aberdeenshire, and William was at his home in Kensington Palace. Meghan has returned to Canada with Harry thought to be staying at Frogmore Cottage in Windsor. Thankfully for the Queen, she has been able to rely on her 98-year-old husband for support. Prince Philip spends most of his time at Wood Farm, an unassuming cottage on the estate, after retiring from public life in 2017. However, the Mail on Sunday understands he has been staying in the main house since the crisis broke. Sir Edward Young, the Queen's private secretary, is overseeing the coordination of talks between the different households. Yesterday, aides from the four households of the Queen, the Prince of Wales, William and Harry were locked in talks at Buckingham Palace after earlier meetings involving some of Britain's most high-ranking civil servants, lawyers and the Keeper of the Privy Purse. The principals, as courtiers refer to members of the royal family, held telephone calls to discuss the options. The Mail on Sunday understands that Sir Mark Sedwill, head of the civil service, has been drawing up plans to offer Harry and Meghan a high-profile Commonwealth role, which would allow them to live in Canada and travel abroad on a certain number of official trips each year. Harry is already the president of the Queen's Commonwealth Trust. Last year Meghan was made vice president, and it is a cause close to the Queen's heart. The arrangement could mean that the Sussexes could adopt a George Clooney or Leonardo DiCaprio role, said one source, allowing their charitable endeavors to coexist alongside their commercial interests without clashing. But the source also pointed out that a half-in, half-out scenario will be very difficult to pull off. On the one hand, they will have access to public occasions, such as riding in the carriages at Trooping the Colour and standing on the balcony at Buckingham Palace, but on the other hand they could be seen to be cashing in on their royal status, with a multi-million-pound deal for Harry to work with US TV mogul Oprah Winfrey on a series about mental health already announced and an expected book by Meghan sure to be a bestseller. Palace officials are looking at whether the Sussexes should be required to get palace authorization for each commercial deal, although this would undermine the freedom they are seeking. An insider said, the difficulty will come if they do a deal with a jewelry brand one day and then, on an official engagement, Harry is seen wearing one of the company's watches. It will be hard to differentiate the two. It is hoped that an agreement can be reached by Wednesday. Perhaps the clues to an imminent crisis were there all along, or, at the very least, since Meghan guest-edited the August issue of Vogue. In Meghan's editor's letter, reached by readers after 80-odd glossy pages of adverts for designer clothing and handbags, she quoted a book called The Four-Chambered Heart by Anna East 9 Inch Nails, where a character says, "I must be a mermaid, Rango. I have no fear of depth and a great fear of shallow living." So was life in the firm too shallow for Meghan? Perhaps cutting ribbons at community centers was never going to satisfy the ambitious young actress who had her engagement ring upgraded by adding extra diamonds to the band. It is suspected that she had no wish, either, to play a supporting role to her sister-in-law, the Duchess of Cambridge. The Sussexes will look to the example of former U.S. President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle, who, after leaving the White House, launched a lucrative commercial career with multi-million-dollar book deals, a Netflix documentary series and carefully selected public speaking appearances without compromising their brand. But being a member of the royal family is different. It's far from clear, for example, exactly what sort of work Harry and Meghan could do without trading on their titles. The Sussex Royal trademark registered with the Intellectual Property Office allows them the right to produce trademarked goods, everything from notebooks to pajamas. A source said, "The trouble is that there is no precedent for this. And when it comes to the monarchy, that is quite a problem."